Hi, friends.
Hi.
We just wanted to mark the day. Today is October 25th, 2020. October 25th is the 2-year anniversary of the death of my spiritual father, Father Thomas Keating.
Who was an amazing Trappist monk and co-creator of centering prayer, and David was
Interreligious dialogue with the Dalai Lama, big people like that.
Yeah.
He died 2 years ago when he was 95. So he went into the monastery when he was 21, long time as a monk, but broke out into the world because he wanted to engage with the world and offer meditation practice, engage in dialogue, try to help bring forth what he had learned in the monastery into life.
That's right. And David worked very closely with him for 35 years.
35 years. And Donna got to know him for 15 years.
Yeah. And he was the most extraordinary human being, really incredible. And we got to see him. We spent a couple days with him in hospice shortly before he died. And so we wanted to share some things from that visit at this time, because it's feeling like this time is very kind of fraught, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
A little fraught.
Yeah.
Maybe
fraught.
A little election coming up, a little pandemic lockdown, a little fires and climate change and protests and things are uncertain.
Things are uncertain. Things are unstable. We're especially today aware of 10 days before the U.S. elections and all of that turmoil. Whatever's going to happen, things will change, but there'll be a whole new craziness.
Right.
And how do we live in that? How do we find ground? How do we be of help to other people?
That's right. How do we keep our center and ground? And so for both of us, Thomas Keating was a great model of someone who really, in the midst of, his life, was able to be he had so much presence and compassion and wisdom, and even in his dying days. And so we just thought, we'll just use this opportunity maybe to just share a couple things from our visit with him and see if there might be something useful for, if you're watching, that you could take to help us navigate this very interesting time.
Yeah, to inspire you. And not everything Thomas did would we do ourselves the same way.
He was a monk.
We haven't done it.
He was a monk.
He was a monk. I lived a monastic life under his guidance for my young adult life, but then I found my partner after that.
Thank God.
And anyways, we digress.
So
a little more than 2 years ago, he was in hospice. He had lived at this monastery in Massachusetts, Trappist monastery. He was abbot there for 20 years. He retired around 1980, and he moved back to a daughter house in Snowmass Monastery, where he lived
in
Colorado for pretty much the rest of his life, except when he got very ill and he was transferred back to Massachusetts to that monastery because they had a full infirmary and he could get better care there as lower altitude. So he was in hospice. We talked to him on the phone.
He asked to see David as he was dying, and so we flew out. Spent 2 days there and we didn't know what to expect when we walked in. We thought we had heard he was kind of out of it, and but he was very present, vibrant, alert, loved, so happy to see us.
And we walked into the room. He's in his hospital bed, his own little infirmary cell. He's cranked up, the bed is cranked up, and he's looking with the vibrant eyes, smiling. We'll show you the picture that Donna took of he and I together. And it was funny because Donna was just going to say hi and then leave.
Yeah, just to, they're the old buddies, stuff. But he wouldn't let me, and he said, no, please stay, and I think he really wanted me there.
Oh, he really wanted. It wasn't just politeness.
No, so it was.
He was greatly animated by the dynamic feminine present, the Shekinah, the spirit.
Yes, it's definitely one thing missing from most monasteries.
He said, oh no, if you just leave us alone, and David and I'll just rehash old memories. He says, I want to hear something new. I want some newness.
So anyway, so we just had a beautiful visit, and so he told us all kinds of stories too, and one of the things he was sharing was about how, like, he was really missing his brothers, his close friends, from Snowmass Monastery, right? And I mean,
especially his abbot Joseph,
who amazingly died 4 days before Thomas. They were just so close. But what was interesting.
So he was when he transferred to the infirmary care in Massachusetts, different monastery, he was very sad, poignant. He was missing his brothers, but this was the monastery where he was abbot with these monks now who were his same age. Many of them survived and were still there, and he had the opportunity to see these old guys. Again, when he was abbot, he was trying to initiate a lot of reforms to bring the monastery into the modern world. And half the monks were on board with it, and the other half were not. They were more conservative. But he had the chance in these last days, he told us.
Yeah, and things had gotten kind of intense there. There was a lot of conflict. It was difficult, and he left on not the greatest terms with
some of them.
Some of them. But now coming back, he was able to do all this healing with these old guys, and one by one they would come into the room and just work through all that old stuff, and just with so much love and forgiveness and
tenderness and friendship and letting go of old emotions and things like that. I remember we talked to the one monk in the bookstore, and he told us stories like of 1961 or something.
When he became abbot.
When Thomas became abbot, and where this monk was, and all.
The bells were ringing.
Yeah.
But there was this sense of how, like, my God, like, he found himself in this situation back in this monastery where he really wanted to be with his brothers in Snowmass, and yet here he is in Spencer, able to work through this old karmic stuff. It was so striking that, like, it gave us, I don't know, a sense of, like, can you trust that maybe the world, the universe may put you, not where you want to be, but where you need to be, like that things come full circle, sometimes, and you don't necessarily have to live to be 95, for that to happen. But it was just this amazing sense of things wrapping up in a beautiful way that had been totally unexpected.
Even amidst the sadness. In other words, Father Thomas, we could see the sadness in his eyes when he was missing Abbot Joseph and his brothers and his friends from Colorado. Yet at the same time, he was open to something else.
Right.
This human encounter.
I was thinking about that in terms of, like, even where we're at right now, say with the pandemic lockdown, it's not where most of us would choose to be, with everything so restricted. And yet, can we grieve the losses, but also really be present to opportunities that are offering themselves in this slower, more interior time that we wouldn't be have access to otherwise, and when things were normal and quick and fast and busy in a different way.
So the whole spiritual path is about death and openness to something new. And I remember we talked with Thomas 2 years ago about the other political turmoil in the United States and in our country, and climate emergencies and social justice concerns and all of it. And as a monk, he was not in touch with that. He was not on social media.
No.
He was not tweeting.
He did read the New York Times once a week.
so that he could know a little bit about what the world was happening, and pray and offer his intentions and prayers. And I also updated him personally on my own death, my own turmoil, my own spiritual dark night. And he said this word of wisdom. He said, sometimes people and nations have to bottom out,
hit rock bottom.
hit rock bottom,
Yeah,
in order to be truly open to the new, to the higher power,
yeah,
and really let go of the old. And whether that's an individual, or a nation, a country, or even maybe a species, our human species, that's the wisdom that comes from a lot of rock bottoms and deaths and openness and newness of life.
yeah. I mean, rock bottom doesn't guarantee that, a lot of people hit rock bottom and just keep going,
Yeah.
but it's an opportunity, if you're listening and see it as, okay, I'm ready to ask for help, to turn to a higher power, as he said, So who knows where we're at as a country? Are we close to bottom, or is there, a few more miles down to go? Who knows? But it feels
Dire things,
yes,
as we know, that things feel edgy and dire. Whatever our political position is, we know that this is a poignant time for our country and for our species and for life on Earth. What was the other thing that we wanted, that we about the mountaintop.
Yeah. So I mean, Thomas was a monk who lived literally on a mountaintop. I mean, talk about stereotypes. But and he that's a certain approach to religious spirituality. You could say it's patriarchal, and living with a bunch of guys and all that, a kind of transcendent form of spirituality. And yet in the second half of his life, he really became much more engaged in the world, because he saw how important that was. I would say he was very imbalanced in that, he became interested in inter-religious dialogues, and he went out into the world. He left the monastery, which is unusual.
On trips.
Yeah.
That's
right. He left and he came back.
He told me that he thought once about leaving permanently, but that he felt that he could help most people by remaining a monk, but being engaged.
Right. And anyway, so that was his path, and it worked for him. And it would be, for us now, it feels a little too maybe restrictive, or just, it's a different approach. I think if he lived another 100 years or whatever, like, who's to say, where he would go. It's kind of like Thomas Merton, another amazing Trappist monk who, also, had taken vows in a monastery, but then discovered Buddhism and explored Buddhism, went to Asia and got into social justice,
civil rights, protesting nuclear armament.
Yeah, fell in love with a Jewish woman, which changed everything for him. So
we learned so much.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's just interesting, Thomas's particular path. It's not a path for everyone, but for him,
it was a profound path.
Profound, and he became such a model.
The trajectory kind of helps me look towards an engagement with life and with the feminine, and and even though I have health limitations, to be available in the ways that I can. So it was a wonderful visit on human levels, and we were very careful not to tire him. But he would say to us, what was it he would say when he said, "Oh, I don't want to tire you out. I'll let you go now."
That was, he was just like so kind and sensitive to the last moment. So,
and as he used to remind me, he used to say, "I'm a work in progress." How beautiful.
So humble.
I'm a learner, he said. He was a master teacher, but he was a learner.
Yeah, humble till the very end. So just again, coming back to like this time that we're in, and just, taking in those lessons, and also the sense of like, how are we approaching this time, trying to stay sane and grounded, and part of it, like, it's taking note of Thomas not being on social media or whatever. We're really trying to limit our time with news and stuff, because we could see how divisive and polarizing and agitating it is. So we tried to do a media fast, but it was just too extreme. We got to know a little bit what's going on.
So we can be engaged, so we know what to do.
So we know what to pray for,
but to
too.
not let it take control, so that whatever happens in the election, I still have, because I'm on a media slow, I still have some freedom in my mind, in my heart. I am not going to lose that permanently.
Right.
I mean, I might get unbalanced. Might lose my balance.
Right, but it's like we feel the more time we spend obsessing over that stuff, we just get very ungrounded and uncentered, and then that doesn't make us effective helping. Like, so for instance, like, we want to know what's going on because part of our practice is every night in bed we lie there and we pray. We express gratitudes, and then we pray for people that we know who are struggling, but then for situations in the country and in the city and in the world that need our attention, where there is suffering going on. And that feels like a really beautiful, powerful practice for us.
And we do what we feel we can, and it doesn't feel like it's ever enough.
In terms of helping, contributing,
but for us, that means being available, particularly with young people, with the, in live and presence.
As a supportive presence, mentoring and donating to organizations and candidates, that we believe in.
Organizations, especially, that can be more active, certainly, than I can with my health situation. What else are we inspired to do? Oh, to be with our circle of friends and community, and to be enriched by nature, to stay in contact with ways that the unity of life comes to us and nurtures us.
Right. Being creative. Making mandalas in the woods. Whatever,
as an offering, huh?
Yeah.
As an offering. Yeah.
So anyway, we just we're just thinking of Thomas today with so much love and blessing, and taking his example of just deep, compassionate wisdom and presence, even when he was in pain,
and learning from his life, but also the trajectory of his life, and things that we can do ourselves. So think of mentors and spiritual friends or authors that you've learned from, and to recover and renew that wisdom, and to break open to a new story.
That's right. At the one of the last things he said is that in the future, he feels that people are not so much drawn to spiritual teachers as much as stories. That's what he said. And the way I interpret that is that it's not about the people, the person, all gurus are flawed and all that, but we need new stories that help us, frame life in a way that allows us to have meaning and purpose, and a sense of understanding of our interconnectivity and the oneness of all, and our divinity, and the sacredness of all life.
So who inspires you? What story do you want to come back to in your life,
or help create in the world?
So that's the blessing of this day for us.
This day, and we bless you all, and
send you good wishes.
Yes, be well, stay safe, and thank you for listening.
Yeah.